Welcome to Someone Else's Movie, the original podcast where an actor, writer, director, or nebulous industry figure gives a little love to a movie they didn't make. I'm Norm Wilner. I'm a film programmer and cultural critic in Toronto, and this is the other thing I do. My guest this week is Samir Oliveros, the co-writer and director of The Luckiest Man in America, the very strange but entirely true story of Michael Larson, who in 1984 won over $110,000 on the game show Press Your Luck, an impossible feat, except that he did it. With Paul Walter Hauser bringing his full eccentric power to bear as Larson, and a supporting cast that includes Walton Goggins, Shamir Anderson, David Strathairn, and Maisie Williams, The Luckiest Man in America unpacks Larson's story from several angles and comes up with an absorbing look at a stranger-than-fiction scandal. It's in theaters now in the US and Canada, and you should check it out. Samir picked On Body and Soul, Ildikó Enyedi's prize-winning 2017 drama about two misfits working in a Hungarian slaughterhouse. Endre, the CFO, and Maria, who's just been brought on to supervise quality control. They discover they've been having the exact same dream, night after night, and their efforts to understand what's happening create a strange sort of codependence, but also destabilize their lives even more than they already were, setting in motion a slow-moving but unavoidable collision that is, in its way, even weirder than the situation they're already in. And somehow, also, beautiful. This is Someone Else's Movie.
It's my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, wonderful.
And I'm just so glad that you had not done it. I was happy when I got that email that it had not been done before. So yeah, it's I think it's the movie that I think about every day. So yeah, like the one I have as my reference. One day, if I ever make a movie like this, I'll die a happy man.
I mean, I saw it the year it came out. It won the Golden Bear at Berlin, and sort of drifted under the radar for a really, really long time. It was nominated for the Oscar for foreign language film, but it didn't win. And when that happens, the air tends to go out of a film, right? You have that tiny window of promotional focus for North America, certainly. And then if the film doesn't win, as we saw a couple of years ago with Close, for example, where it's a tremendous, emotional, powerful film. It's done really well on the festival circuit, and then everyone just sort of shrugs and moves on.
Yep.
I was really surprised to find out this had been on Netflix for as long as it had. It kind of drifted away from there as well. So now currently the only way to see it is a UK Blu-ray, which I have actually already ordered based on this discovery, because I don't want it to disappear either. It's such a... But as a result, we're talking about a film that most of my listeners will probably never have even heard of. I'll set it up a tiny bit in the intro, but once you explain it to them and tell them what it's about, I don't know that I think that might create a further barrier to entry. It's such a rare film in that it's what Ebert used to say, right? How a film is about something is more important than what the film is about.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when did you first see it? Were you at a festival and saw it in a theater?
I was at a festival. It was beautiful because I was touring with my movie, with my first feature in 2017. And I saw it. So the Rotterdam Film Festival has a sister festival in Curaçao, which is a Dutch island in the Caribbean. Mm-hmm. My movie is an island movie. So they invited us to play at Curaçao. And when I was there, they said, okay, we want you all to watch this movie as like the closing of the festival, or the opening of the festival. It might have been the closing. And I was like, okay, let's watch this. And ever since, I have had that movie just ingrained in my brain. I cannot get it out of my head. It just landed in a place where it was supposed to.
Oh, that's lovely. I'm haunted by maybe a dozen films in the same way.
Yeah.
And they're impossible. The best of them are impossible to articulate. I think about our beloved month of August, Miguel Gomez's film, which we gave the Frepesci Prize to in Vienna in, I guess it must have been 2008, where, again, end of the festival, punchy, tired, and then just swept away by this beautiful, complicated, sort of self-reflexive meta-epic. On Body and Soul is a movie about two people who connect over simultaneously, I guess it's fair to say, a great distance and no distance at all, and who share something intimate that neither of them understands, and ultimately the question of the film is whether they can bring that intimacy into their daily lives and either connect as individuals, as a couple, or just learn from it. And the I'm trying really hard not to spoil it in conversation, even though you can't, because that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
But what was it? I saw it alone. What was it like to see it with an audience?
It was incredible. I think the fact that it fades to white at the end illuminated all of us in the theater. And I just remember looking around and we were all in awe. Like there was a moment of silence. We were just like, it was beautiful because it was a bunch of filmmakers. So we were just, yeah, in complete awe of what we had just seen, and the white just made it even more like celestial. It was like, ah, you just saw your favorite movie for the rest of your life. But yeah, it was incredible.
Were the filmmakers there? Was the cast there? I mean, did anybody talk about it?
No, no, nobody. But then that same year, my movie was invited to the Mumbai Film Festival,
Okay.
and the main actress was a judge. So I got to see her in person, and she's a completely different person. She's super cool, super hot, and she just walks around like a normal human being, not like in the movie. And I was just like in shock. And then it just reiterated how incredible she is at that role. And yeah, and it was great to see her and meet her
Oh,
there.
that's wonderful. Yeah, I've never gotten to speak to anybody involved in the film, and I mean, I guess I would know where to start. I was going to be facetious, but I think I would know where to start, which is that how the question I always end up asking people is, when did you know this would work, and how did you, not how did you figure it out, but when did you have the confidence to go forward? And in this case, I wonder whether it would have been finding the cast, or if that was less of a concern than finding the tone, finding, I mean, God, finding a slaughterhouse that would allow you to shoot, because it's a truly unblinking vision of that, of the banality and the cruelty and the awfulness of the necessity of a slaughterhouse. It's and that was, I know that was a turnoff at the time, because people would say, "Oh, I heard that's really graphic. I don't want to watch that." And it's like, yeah, okay, fair, but it's
Yeah.
necessary. I think we need to see the contamination of nature by people, by humans, and we need to see the mechanization of slaughter and just the world these people are living in, the world that other people have created for them to live in. I watched trailers to remind myself of the
Mhm.
texture of it. I get a Severance vibe in my memory now, because that's sort of, the Severance television series has sort of permeated the culture right now, and it's all about the things you're willing to do to yourself in order to not feel.
Mhm.
Um, and this is about two people who can't stop feeling and don't know why they're feeling what they're feeling. It's almost like it's a perfect time to bring it back into the conversation, really, because I think people are ready for it.
Absolutely. But I also believe when I was watching it again last night, I had forgotten how explicit and graphic all the butcher house stuff is, and then I was wondering about the choice, and then it makes sense because it's also about finding love in the most unexpected place where you would least expect to find something like that. And where you would, yeah, like it's a place where it's almost impossible, where it doesn't allow you to think about something like love, which is why
Sure.
it's so powerful too. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Andres certainly has good reason for not wanting to feel things. He's shut himself down so he can do this job. Um, he's isolated himself, I think, not deliberately. It's just happened, because of his hand injury, because of the way he sees himself, or believes other people see himself that way. He has just sort of removed himself from social interaction, but he's crushingly lonely. And I don't know if Maria is lonely. I mean, there's something neuroatypical about her. She doesn't fit with people and is comfortable not fitting with people. I mean, she has that great scene where she's like, no, I don't want anything. But then once she's aware of the possibility of larger connections and more profound ways of living and moving through the world, I mean, it happens fairly late in the film, but I remember this just loving the scene where she goes to a CD shop and buys all the love songs in order to understand why people sing them.
Incredible. But then she pauses it because she feels something and she's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And she pauses it because it overwhelms her. And it's such a beautiful detail not to let it run.
Yeah. Oh, and I misremembered too. She doesn't buy them all. She wants to listen to them in the store, and then they get tired of her and give her one CD, which she can't handle.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's beautiful.
It's such an interesting way of relating to culture too, because so few films about alienation often bring in a song or a film or a book as sort of a totem for characters, the one thing that lets them connect to the world.
Right.
And it doesn't quite work the same way here. The song repeats over and over again, but it's not a touchstone in the way that it could be. It's still just hers.
Right.
Like, it doesn't help her connect to anyone else, and maybe even serves as a kind of a torture for her that she can't connect to it, that it's too overwhelming. Right. To jump around again in the plot, I mean, she does try to end her life, even though she doesn't really want to. She does it during the song or with the song playing, almost as a I couldn't tell. Is it a guide? Is it a narcotic? What does the song do to her that makes her so overwhelmed by the world when nothing else does?
Yeah. I believe that it's interesting because the first time that she listens to it, it overwhelms her and she doesn't understand why. And then she understands what heartbreak means. So she understands it's almost like a yeah, what's the word? Yeah, like there are things that happen to everyone that you it's like a foreshadowing almost. Like you find something and you don't know where it's going to land or where you're going to be able to place it in your life, but you know that it's going to mean something later, even if you cannot give it meaning right away. And then when she understands the meaning of it, yeah, it's just so well executed. I just love how she did it and how she understands what it means later. Even though yeah, it gives her a hint as soon as she listens to it the first time.
Yeah, and we're not allowed to fully connect to it either, because it is. I mean, if you listen to it, it's a lovely song, but I realize it's been so long that I can't actually remember whose song it was. So I'm looking it up while we're talking because I feel like a complete idiot.
Yeah, it's in English. It's Laura something.
Marling, Laura Marling, British. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Laura Marling, who is an incredibly haunting singer and songwriter.
What He Wrote is the name of the song.
That's right. It's not Laura Marling's most moving number either, which is why I keep forgetting that it's her song. Mm-hmm. But it is like, it's a deep cut, and it's perfect because it is the sort of thing that you can believe someone wouldn't understand. It's subtle. It's singing about a thing that isn't something that she can connect to, the nature of losing someone and finding them again. And yeah, just watching her puzzle through that first listen, the way and then realizing that that's how she approaches the entire world. She's confused. She's not confused by the world. She's perplexed by the world. Right. She can navigate it. She's found ways to cope. It really is, in terms of neurodivergence, it's a fascinating performance of someone who has a specific structure that she requires and has figured out a way to move around in that. Like, it's like she's built an armor for herself out of distance, out of emotional distance, but it isn't like, it's not helpful. It literally functionally helps her to get through the day, but she's not living.
Exactly. I think that the thing that she misses is humanity. Like she lacks in humanity. Like all her structure allows her, just like you said, to live through her days, but she's not experienced the bigger things that makes us human.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. She doesn't mind the dreams. Neither of them minds them.
Yeah.
They seem quite liberating and freeing and relaxing when they never wake up upset.
Yeah.
But the sense that they can't stop them or understand why they're having them just keeps eating at them. And it starts to infect every interaction, especially between the two of them, once they understand that they're both having the same dream, like beat for beat, moment for moment. Um, it's such a, yeah, it's such a marvelously odd place to start a story.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
deprive us of that understanding for the longest time, it takes a while for it to clarify, which is
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
great because we just sort of sink into this
That's
reality.
why I love the structure of the movie. I think the way that she holds back on information and lets you simmer and try to figure out and makes you leaning into the why are we watching this? And then the choice of casting her, because she actually looks a little bit like that deer. It's you start making some connections, but it works in the subconscious. It's not explicit,
Mm.
so you start making and connecting some dots in the background of your head, and then in that one scene where they're confronted, it's like I get shivers every time I think about it. But then when they write down the dream beat by beat, just like you
Mm.
described, and then they exchange it and they read each other's dreams, and then they both just like give the biggest smiles of their life. I always tear up in that scene. It just breaks me every time.
Yeah, it's beautiful. The idea too that people can connect without knowing they've connected, and
Yeah,
that it's not that they don't experience fear, right? This isn't a frightening thing. It's proof that they're not losing their minds, I
right,
suppose, right? If someone
right.
else is having the exact same experience as you are, but that sense of connection, which they don't fully understand and really never do, is I love that it's unexplained. I mean, you couldn't explain something like this. There is really no way to explain something like this other than, you
It's
know, the
love.
yeah, but it's not
Yeah,
a love that either of them expects or understands. They've been
totally.
dreaming before they met.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
this other thing. And I kept waiting for some past life revelation that, this is simply the way they used to live, but that wouldn't work either because it would push against it. Knowing anything about why this is happening would actually diminish the magic of it.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I just think that it walks such a fine line of the amount of everything that she puts on screen, that it just allows you to fill in the gaps, but it's so smartly done. Yeah, I agree.
And I was surprised to find out. I mean, I wasn't aware of I hope I'm not mispronouncing this, Ildikó Enyedi's work, really, but I had come across it, bits and pieces of it. But this was her first film in something like 17 years. She just hadn't made a feature.
Yeah, she was raising a child.
Okay. And this is nothing like her other work.
No, no. Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. I wonder how much it simmered like the story in her while she was, because it makes sense. Like if she's raising a kid since the moment they're born until they turn 18 and they go to college so that she can go back to filmmaking.
Hmm.
It feels like it was such a need to get it out of her. And you can tell that it might have been a long time because it's just so perfect. And I guess she just had the time to actually just make the perfect movie.
Hey, it's Norm interrupting my own show to bring you up to speed on Shiny Things, my newsletter about physical media, culture, and the odd streaming project. Last week, I wrote about the new releases of Companion and Love Hurts, one of which was really damn good, and there's a lot more coming up. Sign up for a 14-day free trial at shiny-things.ghost.io or find a link at the Semcast Blue Sky account. You like reading about movies? I like writing about them. Come check it out. I would love to know how long it was rattling around, and
Yeah.
for that chunk of time, would she have made it right after her 1999 feature, or is this something that came up somewhere else? Is this something this because it has the perfect dream logic of never really needing an explanation and simply playing off the faces of these people and just sort of luxuriating in in their process of emotion of figuring out who they are and what they want, it does feel like it came fully formed, but that's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
just not how movies happen.
Yeah, you wish it could be like that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about the process.
No, I'm hoping there's some extra stuff on that Blu-ray. Uh,
Please do
the
let me know.
Yes, and also, how do you convince the slaughterhouse to let you shoot that? How do you? Apparently, she worked to train the deer. They actually worked with um, animal actors and spent several months getting everything ready for the shoot, which I cannot begin to understand, because at no point do you ever feel that those creatures are behaving anything other than naturally and organically.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Which is
yeah,
the whole point, right? I mean, if they were performing scenes, it wouldn't make any sense.
right. Yeah, it's beautiful because also their interactions tell a story.
Yeah,
Initially, you just see them and you're like, oh, it's just deer in a forest. But then when you see them again, they're doing something new and then something new, and then there's the absence of one of them, and then the other one's running, searching for the other one, and it's a whole other movie. But it's yeah, it's just every single choice is perfect. Was the
yeah,
right one.
yeah, and it's incredible that those scenes do have dramatic tension and pacing in themselves. They're like, it's not just through the editing; it's through what we're seeing and how it's being shown to us.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I thought this must be CG, that this can't be real, because
Right,
there's
right.
so much going on, and how do you choreograph something like that? And then it
Yes.
turns out she spent months figuring it out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But oh yeah, the sense of it, the sense that you're watching something, as you say, that you've never seen before. As you, like, this is a new experience of film, and I could come up with all kinds of comparison points. I was going over the reviews in preparation for this, and people kept saying Charlie Kaufman was part of it, and I suppose in the idea of something psychological that you can't fully understand, and
Yeah.
that might be absurd, but in this case, absolutely isn't. Maybe, but it's not heady in that same way. It doesn't
Yeah,
have
not
that
at all.
cerebral playfulness. It's deadly serious. This is life or death for these people.
Absolutely. Yeah, and tonally, it's you could call it absurd, but it's totally possible. Like I believe that I've shared dreams with people, and with people that I love. So I don't know, some of I think that the Kaufman comparison, yeah, of course it's related to the dream world and what you were saying, the psychological parts of it. But I think his is a little bit also more cynical, and there's like a what's the word? Yeah, heady and yeah, I don't know. This one is just delicate. It's delicate, and it's about love. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you can intellectualize the
Yeah.
experience the way that Kaufman always seems to want to. There
Right.
are no scenes where people puzzle it out, which
Exactly. Exactly.
which makes sense, right? I mean, they don't know each other well enough to have this conversation, and yet they're sharing the most intimate experience of connection that neither of them understands. And maybe the whole point of the film is that, I mean, not maybe, it's absolutely the point of the film is that when she needs him, he's there,
Right.
but in a way that neither of them fully understands.
Right. Yeah, for me, she works more in the world of an Alice Rockbacher, where there is like there's magical realism in a way that it's grounded, or like even like Bird, like Andrea Arnold's latest movie,
Oh, yes.
where it's so grounded and it's taken for granted, all the magical realism, that you just don't question it for a second. And you're dealing with everything that is after that thought. Like the drama that comes out of it, not the device. You're not focused on the device. You're focused on the drama around it.
Right.
And the way that they just like simply establish the rule of the world. It's so yeah, like simple and yeah, like it's taken for granted. So you don't have that scene like a Kaufman movie in which you need to decode it and you need to talk about it. It just happens.
well, I suppose the only other big Hungarian release along these lines is probably White God from right around the same time, I think,
Yeah.
where something inexplicable is happening, but that is much more actively unnatural, that no one wants what's going on. Here, it's a gateway to connection that's genuinely moving. And I realized watching the characters figure out whether or not, like, the suspense doesn't come from the device, from the dreams. The suspense comes from what people are going to do with this knowledge, and whether they'll take advantage of the opportunity in front of them, which is, of course, the core of every great love story, which I don't know that this is.
Right, right. That's why it reminds me a little bit more of I think it's more related to stuff like Alice's like La Quimera, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like the love story in that movie is actually quite similar in the way that it's a search for for this other person, um, and following the beautiful little red wool into this other world.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's different in that yeah, the way that it's European magical realism does it in a way that it's not about the device. So it allows for all that stuff that you're describing. Yes.
Yeah. And an American version of this would need a monologue about a folk tale that makes it all possible, because people need to be grounded or rooted in something that they vaguely recognize to accept something impossible, which, again, sure, it works for some filmmakers, but not always. And weirdly enough, that lets me pivot into The Luckiest Man in America, because you're watching someone with all sorts of inner secrets. He's keeping something from literally every character in the film. It's not always the same thing, but he is desperate to find an outlet for his secrets and a way to use this thing that he has that no one else has figured out. And the comedy and the pathos to me is watching everyone else respond to him differently. And the way that Hauser is so good at giving nothing back while being so desperate for connection. Like, he's basically a brick wall of eccentricity and secrets, but I could feel the desperation. I mean, the whole point of the story is to beat the system and reclaim his family, which is impossible. But what if it isn't?
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's now that we're talking about it, I can see a little bit of Maria's character and her inability to connect with people in Michael Larson. You're correct. I had not
Yeah.
thought.
I mean, she's more comfortable with it than Larson is.
Of course.
And Hauser, I think, is such an inherently sympathetic actor, even when he's playing dunces in films like I, Tonya, where they have rich inner lives, but they're very, very stupid lives.
Right. Yeah.
And that's not who Michael Larson is. So just seeing someone who is very, very clever in one way and not in a lot of other ways it's a really good color on him, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I always, when I was writing the character, the thing that really struck us is that he was his brothers would always claim that he was smarter than everybody else in the room, and that he would always look, instead of applying that knowledge into things, he would always look for the shortcut, but that led him to deliver, to fail in delivering a lot of promises, and that's what led to a lot of broken marriages. And I get it. Like, I see how he could have met somebody and he promised and proved initially that he was the smartest man in the room and that he was going to do this big thing, and he had this delusion of grandeur to accomplish this bigger than life thing that he was going to pull off, whether it was the lottery or whether it was the pressure luck scheme, and then failing and not being able to deliver on these promises and leave so many broken families behind. I believe that was the thing that really attracted me to him. And that's and that was the when I realized that that was the story I wanted to tell. The big act of love, where he finally is able to pull it off, but it might have been just a little too late.
I don't know if I can argue that of Body and Soul is actually an influence on it, but I keep wanting to connect every time a guest picks a film. I'm trying to desperately to stitch it together to previous things, but it is. I don't think they really do overlap, but there is an inherent sadness inside The Luckiest Man in America that I kind of feel.
Yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
resonates with it with the film we've been talking about.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it's also that need for connection, and that need for validation and somebody that search for love. I think that's how they relate.
Through an absurd 1980s TV game show.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I always like to think about it like that. Like it's a love story camouflaged in a game show comedy thriller.
Yeah. And it's a cry for help too, in a way that doesn't land with anyone else. I mean, everybody's mad at him. Everyone finds that like they don't have the patience to deal with Michael Larson's twitchy, nervous affect. I don't know how else to explain it. He's a raw nerve in a way, but he also projects this almost fatuous confidence where he knows exactly what he can do if
Yeah,
he gets the chance to do it.
right.
And we just get to watch him unsettle everyone else around him until they all gradually talk themselves into supporting it, even
Right.
though it's still not necessarily to anyone's benefit.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's because it becomes about understanding him. And there's a point in which everyone, when we hear that big climatic call, I think we all feel for the guy. And we don't need to like him, but once we understand him, we, yeah, we start rooting a little bit more for him. We understand. We always designed the structure in which, um, so that we were gonna answer four questions, which was the what is he doing, how is he doing it, who really is this guy, and then why did he do it? And when we reach to the why, I really feel that at that point, yeah, we wanted to have a balance of like a gray zone in which we shouldn't know if it's okay to root for him, and feel sorry for the guy, like that combination. But then, yeah, once that hits, I think you really understand the guy, and you understand that he has a heart, that his method and his unorthodox ways might not be the right ones, but he has a good heart.
Yeah. Well, and in the same way that On Body and Soul pushes against the idea that if you see two characters in a movie, they will fall in love. Like that may not be where they're destined to go, but the expectation, and it plays with that expectation with us. Anybody going on a game show in a film with this title is likely to win, right? To triumph, to get everything he wants. Because, and this is what I've always, well, not always, but this is what I've been saying about the last 15 years of sports pictures is they don't make movies about people who lose anymore.
Right.
That's not what the audience wants. But there's an ambivalence here. Is the title ironic or is it literal? And also, I think, you have this story which is just vaguely remembered by so many people. I mean, people know there was a Press Your Luck scandal or there was a game show scandal, but we don't know the particulars and we don't know it well enough. And would hope that people don't look it up before they go see the movie, because what would be the point?
Right.
But within that space, you've created a machinery that allows us to be completely unmoored in the morality, in the dynamic of the story. We don't like, I did not know from scene to scene where things were going to go, and I lived through it the first time through. It's just been so long that I don't remember any of it. It was
Great.
probably the age of his daughter.
Really?
Oh no, I don't know, 1984, right? I would have been 16. I was older, but
Yeah.
I was aware of it at the time because the only way I know about it is because it was brought up around then. There was a similar game show scandal, which then became the movie Quiz Show 10 years later.
Yes, yes, yes.
Which again is a film about people arguing about morals and whether something is right or wrong, and coming at it from different levels of class. Your film doesn't do that because sets itself over the space of 24 hours, and everyone is frantically trying to talk themselves into doing something,
Right.
which I find much more interesting. Honestly, I love quiz show, but that film is a lecture, and your film is an anguished debate.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We wanted to have that complexity of feeling a little bit frustrated, of wanting to peel this guy and get to understand him, but at the same time feel frustrated by why he's doing, but yeah, like the way that he does things. Because it could be very simple. It could be a simple solution, but then that would make for a good movie.
Right. Nobody wants easy.
Exactly.
Which of course is the whole point of a game show. They want to make it look simple and, show up, spin the wheel, and win a prize that gets you out of every problem you've ever faced. But
right.
Yeah, what's the line? No matter where you go, there you are. You're still going to have the same fundamental issues that you came in with. You might just have a larger pile of money to spend on those issues.
Right. And it will amplify the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, once again, I find myself reflexively protecting your film. I'm not going to spoil it and discuss the ending, but the compression also makes it just feel sweaty and urgent in a way that I find really entertaining. My wife has this concept called bad decision theater, which drives her up the wall, because until the film tells her how it feels about what it's depicting, the Ebert thing, how it's about what it's about, until the movie tells her where it stands, she cannot plug into the story, because she's just watching someone making mistake after mistake after mistake.
Okay.
She will never see Uncut Gems.
I was going to say she's going to lose her mind with something like Another Round.
No, I will protect her. I think she did see Another Round.
Okay.
But I'll generally throw myself in front of them. I did want her to watch this with me, though, and that was a real education. But the historical thing, again, you make movies about these. We're seeing the story told for a reason, and that was enough to get her on board. And then, of course, when it was over, she looked up the story and it's like, oh, that happened. But the stranger than fiction aspect of it is probably the hook that will bring most people in. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with the 80s decor, and Walton Goggins dressed like that is automatically adorable. But removing it, right? You're telling a story about a time when things were supposed to be simpler.
Yeah.
And you could count on somebody watching a television show at the exact right time to make everything okay. Or at least you could build a world around that. Or you could build yourself a world where that makes sense.
Exactly. Where you could believe a little bit more in coincidences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's only 4 channels, 25%, right?
Exactly.
The idea, too, that of all the people in the world having that dream that they'd happen to meet, if only 2 people are having this dream, it's even more special. But if another 150,000 are all around the world, that's the thing that Charlie Kaufman would have brought up, that other people were like, it's going on somewhere else.
That's the Nick Cage movie.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Dream Scenario. Of course. I knew there was something in the back of my brain.
Yeah.
But I had Christoph Borgli on the show a year ago. I should have asked him if he'd seen this. It didn't even occur to me.
Yeah.
But the intimacy of a shared dream, and the idea that you are the only person in the world having this experience, and then suddenly finding out you're not.
Yeah.
That is something delicate and beautiful. And yeah. Oh, now I want to watch Dream Scenario again and see if there are any hints, because it didn't occur to me when I was watching it.
No. I think that one becomes more about that one has that American thing that I just don't know how to describe. That would be the Kaufman thing that we were talking about, where it becomes about the device. And then they just put a megaphone on the device.
Yeah. It's the need to rationalize the irrational.
Right.
And sometimes not doing that is the better way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So before we run out of time, the podcast always ends the same way, which is the most basic question, the other most basic question. Is there anything of on Body and Soul that you have borrowed or lifted or outright stolen or planned to in future work?
I like to believe that at least in the near future, all my movies will have to do with impossible romances.
Okay.
That's that seems to be a common denominator through all of them. Well, this new stage. But yeah, not explicitly that I can think of, but I would love to do an homage to it in some way in the near future.
Yeah. Would you continue working in the sort of the American milieu with, name stars? I'm assuming it's easier to get it financed, but
Yeah.
is that the kind of thing that would work in the English language, or would you rather do it with a distance at a remove?
Yeah, there's a bunch of other movies that I want to make in Colombia, where I'm originally from, that are like magical realism movies.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, those are really tough to finance, and our national fund, is not doing very well right now. So that's why I'm currently on this path. But ideally, I would want to be able to do like the Cuarón thing, where I can make movies in both places. And yeah, I'm starting to realize that I will be better suited to approach magical realism with maturity, because then I will be able to do that thing that we loved from On Body and Soul, which is not, you don't need to explain the device. You don't need to go into a explicit verbalization of what is it that's happening. Like, just you set it up, that's the rule of the world, and just make the drama around it. And I believe that the more I see this happening, and the more I grow, I think I stay away from telling. I'm growing to hopefully become a more subtextual filmmaker, and I think magical realism thrives through subtext.
Oh yeah.
So I'm happy that right now I'm doing things here, so that when I go back, I'm going to be a mature, hopefully a little bit more filmmaker, so that when I do magical realism in Colombia, where I've always wanted to do it, I'll be able to pull it off in that way, like in the On Body and Soul and La Quimera and Bird, and all those beautiful movies that I love.
My thanks to Samir Oliveros, whose new film, The Luckiest Man in America, is now playing in theaters across the US and Canada. Thanks also to Ali Lemaire Shedden. She knows what she did. Samir doesn't seem to do social media, but you can follow his movie on Instagram at IFC Films, all one word. And while On Body and Soul is supposed to be streaming on Netflix in the US and Canada, it doesn't currently come up when you search for it, which is weird. But if you have a multi-region player, the UK Blu-ray I mentioned is still available and surprisingly affordable. You can find me on Blue Sky at Norm Wilner, and you can find this podcast there at Semcast, SEMcast, and on the web at someoneelsesmovie.com. The first year of the show is still available for just $20 at payhip.com/semcast. That's the first 52 episodes of Someone Else's Movie, 41 of which aren't currently available anywhere else. And check out my newsletter, Shiny Things, at shiny-things.ghost.io. I think you'll enjoy it. Our theme song is by The Last Year. If you like it, or this show in general, please say so. Leave a review wherever you've been listening. Every little bit helps, it truly does. And check out the other shows on the Frequency Podcast Network while you're doing that. Stay safe, watch movies, wear a mask if you go out, get the new booster as soon as you can. Get all the boosters. You're probably going to need them. I'll see you next week.